stack. High yields on stable coins, yeah, that's where my bag at. All I really need is Wi-Fi, get money on DeFi, mega cash on MetaMask. You better run when the runners run, show you how to get your money up. Dollar inflated like bubble gum, markets are jumping like double dutch. Buying up gold till I get a ton, crypto, yeah, I got some. You better run when the runners run, you better run when the runners run.
Good morning, you beautiful people. It's Monday, October 30th, 2023. We are crushing this year, getting ready for 2024. As always, I got my good brother here, Ricardo Hamilton, aka M.I.M.S. Make It Make Sense. Brother, how you doing this fine Monday morning?
Yeah, brother. It's no complaints, man. No complaints. Had a great weekend. Spent time with the family. You know what time it is. It's Monday, Mindset Mondays. We got a great show for you guys. And a lot of stuff going on this week. We're definitely excited. It's going to be a phenomenal week. I can already feel it.
Well, let's start off with some amazing news. Infinity Pi continues to skyrocket, sitting at $2.55, 5 million in liquidity, a market cap of 165 million. We're just going to keep documenting this, guys. You can see the buys are coming in heavy. This has only been 1 week since we started. Look at all that green. People buying 5,000 packages left and right. A lot of 500s. But I just love the transparency we get from the blockchain. Look at that night. Wow. 4 or 5,000s in a row.
Yeah, blockchain is phenomenal.
Yeah. I love being able to see all that. So today, guys, we're going to look at a way that you guys can reset your mind. And it can be done in as little as 1 day if you focus. So what you guys have to understand is, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars, to learn how to do this. And thanks to the internet and people sharing, ideas, it's now accessible to everyone. And it really just comes down to you taking the time to train your brain to think differently. So that's what we're going to look at today and get you guys started off on this Monday the right way.
I want you to realize that you are in default mode. According to Dan Gilbert of Harvard, who wrote Stumbling into Happiness, 46.9% of the time, that's half of the day, you're in autopilot mode. You've got two modes in the way in which your brain operates: the default mode and the direct mode. So default, I call autopilot. That's like the day. That's like when your thoughts drift. It's when you're on autopilot. It's when you go through your day without even thinking. The direct mode is the mode where you're present, where you're in the moment, where you're controlling what you think about. You have a choice. You're either going to repeat what you're doing or you're going to evolve it.
So I love that saying there is you're either going to repeat what you're doing or you're going to evolve it. Those are your two options. So you have to do something different if you want to change where you are at in life right now.
Yeah. Two modes in your brain. There's autopilot and the things that you default to, and then there is your ability to deliberately choose what you are going to think about. And when you start to realize and embrace the fact that being a deliberate thinker is a skill, and it is one that I want you to master, and it's one that I want you to practice. Doing a mindset reset, it's not an event, it's a process.
And this is the biggest misunderstanding people have, Ricardo, is they think they can do one thing one time or say, oh, I have a growth mindset, I believe in manifestation, and then it just happens, right? I mean, that would be like somebody going to the gym one time saying, well, I'm in shape now, I'm fit, I guess I don't have to do that anymore. No, guys, it's a process, which last week, that's why we talked about you must enjoy the process. Okay. You can't worry about the destination and think, oh, I can't wait till I get there. You have to enjoy the process of resetting your mindset, of going through the struggle. And then being a deliberate thinker, I think is where a lot of people fall short and need to focus on being that deliberate thinker and you controlling those thoughts that are going on in your mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's going on regardless. So you might as well choose to enjoy it. That's just life. You are where you are right now, and you had to go through a process. And it was up to you how that process went. Did you enjoy it, or did you put yourself into a mindset and position where it was uncomfortable. Now that you look back, you realize that you really had all the power and control. It's the same thing that's going on right now.
100%.
Because the negative and limiting beliefs that you have that are already set to your default, those are encoded in the default network in your brain. And so it's going to be a process that you need to repeat. You know you want to make changes, you got a lot you want to do in your life, but then you start thinking about those changes and you immediately start catastrophizing. You start worrying, you start thinking about all the reasons why it's not going to happen. This is so common, and the reason why it's common is because somebody in your past either trained you to think this way, or you've had so many bad things happen that you've trained yourself to assume and predict that bad things are always going to happen to you.
And I see this all the time, especially when it comes to network marketing, is people, as soon as like there's an opportunity presented before them, they start thinking of all the bad things that can happen. Oh, I did something like this before and I failed, or people told me no, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And this is why most people struggle. Most people fail because the first time they are given an opportunity, a chance to change their life, they go right into that default mode of all the bad things that happen flood into their brain to close off that new opportunity that's presented to them.
There will be bad things that happen. There will. It's a fact of life. But if you are constantly allowing your mind to default to thinking that bad things will happen, or thinking that you're out of shape, or thinking that you're a loser, or thinking that you're not worthy, or thinking that things aren't going to turn out, it becomes your default mode of thinking. Your default mode of thinking, scientists call it the default mode network. The default mode network is a series of neurons in your brain that has automated certain things. The reason why we have a default mode network is because we need it. There's so many things that you and I have to do every single day that shouldn't require us to do a lot of thinking. The problem is thinking patterns become part of your default mode network. Your default mode is to say I'm an imposter, I'm a loser, I'm not likable, nobody likes me, I'm not lovable. It has become part of your default mode network. And it's super important for you to realize that just like I could go from being a right-hander and teach myself how to be a left-hander, it is the exact same process for you to go from somebody who defaults to thinking negative garbage to becoming somebody who thinks directly. And just like learning to go from writing with your right hand to teaching yourself to write with your left hand, it is going to be a process, not an event. It is going to require you to switch out of the mode where you automatically grab the pen with your right hand and you direct your thoughts to deliberately grab this pen with your left hand. In the beginning, your handwriting is going to blow. You're not going to be able to read it very well. It's not going to feel familiar. It's going to feel clunky. The same thing is true with when you start to switch your thoughts from the things that you default to being very direct and deliberate, to thinking things that are positive, that are supportive, that are optimistic, that are full of possibility. This is the work of changing the patterns in your mind.
So I love this analogy, Ricardo, because I'm actually taking notes right now with my right hand because I was right-handed because of my past, right? Is my parents started handing me things to my right, and I started using it more and more and more. My right hand got more dominant. So now I don't even think about it. I automatically default to my right hand. Now I can take my left hand right now and write the letter T. Okay. But it doesn't look very good. And I struggle. It's hard. Okay. And then this is what people do. They're like, I'm going to change my mindset. I'm going to try to be positive. And they do it for a day or two, maybe a week. And then they stop practicing. They stop being deliberate. And then they get frustrated. And they're like, I'm just going to go back to my right hand. I'm just going to go back to my default mode to where everything's negative, and that's how I'm going to live now. Okay. It's going to take, just like the work you have to put in to change which hand you write with, it's going to have to be a process that you continue to do every single day. I'm going to sit down and practice my handwriting for 30 minutes. The same thing, you must have that intention and that deliberate method of shifting your mindset from that default mode.
Yeah, and it's critical that people understand that there will be a challenge in that process. So you already expect it. You don't want to go into it with a false mindset of, you're automatically, it's going to be easy and, you're going to have no challenges. No, obviously it's the same way. If you're right-handed and you write left-handed, you're automatically going to want to write with your right hand because it's harder. You don't like the way it looks. It's more challenging. You're just going to be like, take the easy route. But if you already know that you're already going to be faced with those, adversities in the process, it should prepare you and put you on a better path for success because everything starts with your mind anyway.
Yeah, and prepare for and embrace those struggles, pain, and trials. That's the key, guys. Don't shy away from them. Know they're coming and say, I know this is going to be hard, but I know that I'm going to be better off once I do this and I'm disciplined and shift from that default mode.
There's no other way to do it. And you can do it. Just like you could teach yourself to go from defaulting from being a lefty to being direct and concentrating and teaching yourself to write with your right hand. You can do it. It's going to require you to move from default or autopilot into a direct way of thinking. Autopilot's great when it's helpful. It's horrendous for you when it is working against you. The number one thing that is going to stop you is the way that you think. Because if you can change how you think, you will, in fact, change your life. I believe the way that you think is a choice. I believe that you are either going to repeat the thinking patterns that you've always had this year, or you can evolve them. Because when you change how you think, you will change your life. We are trying to teach you how to become a more deliberate thinker. Think this, not that. What is your limiting belief? What is the thing that you think about yourself? Maybe your parents or your mother or your father taught you to think that way about yourself. Maybe you went through a horrible breakup and that person made you feel unworthy. Maybe you've had a bunch of setbacks in your life and that's what gave you that limiting belief. But what is your limiting belief? Now that you've identified your limiting belief, we're going to look at what is it costing you to choose to repeat it. Write down your limiting belief. I see a lot of, I'm not good enough. My mental health is holding me back. I can't run a successful business. I'm lazy and I can't do anything. I'm not healthy enough. Money is the issue. I'm scared to fail. What is the limiting belief that you have? Once you've written that down, you're afraid of failure. You're not.
So I want to be very specific here. This is the process you have to go through. So when she's telling you this, to write these things down, this is what you need to do if you want to change to where you are at. If you want to get off that default mode, write down your limiting beliefs and follow along with what she's going to tell you to do, guys. You have to actually take the action and do the work if you want to see the results.
You don't deserve success, all that kind of stuff. I don't know how to start. These are excellent. You're doing an excellent job. The first step to moving from that default into getting deliberate is actually seeing it. So seeing it is fantastic because now we can start to understand that, whoa, this got programmed in. It's my default mode. I want to get rid of it. Here's what you're going to do in order to identify the cost, okay? You're going to ask yourself 3 questions, and they're very simple. What is this limiting belief in my case that I'm not a good person? What does it cost me in my past to think this way? What is it costing me in this present moment to think that I'm not a good person? And here's the kicker. If I don't evolve this, if I don't get deliberate, what is it going to cost me in the future to continue to think that I'm not a good person? You can't get rid of the default until you actually spot it. And now that you've seen it, I want you to realize for the rest of your life, you have a job. And your job is to make sure that when that default network kicks back up and you start to murmur that you're too old, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, that is a moment where you have got to do a mindset reset. This isn't the voice of God talking to me. This is some programming that's set on default. I don't have to live my life, and I don't have to have a future where I constantly say things that are negative to myself. This is the most miraculous thing that I've ever heard. But the point is that if you don't get deliberate, you will be stuck with the default mode of thinking. And the way that you reprogram your default mode of thinking so that the default becomes positive and the default becomes courageous and the default becomes loving is first you catch the negative default, and second, you direct it to something deliberate. So instead of thinking, no one likes me, this is mine because I think I'm a bad person. No one likes me. What I want you to think instead is the right people love me. That's pretty powerful. If you're somebody who says, I'm too old, here's what I want you to say, I have plenty of time. Or you could say, I have so much experience, I'm definitely going to succeed. If you say, I'm too young, then say anything you want, from I have plenty of time to learn what I need to learn, to being young is an advantage, to whatever it is. The point that I'm trying to make is, if your default is negative, I don't want you to think that. I want you to catch it when you do, and then I want you to think this, something positive.
So the last point there was, I think, the main points I wanted you guys to catch is think about the cost this default or limiting beliefs have served you in the past, in the present, and then in the future. So hopefully when you think about the cost that mindset has affected you, you realize that you want to make a change from that default mode. And then when you have those limiting beliefs, those negative beliefs, that default mode creeps up, you want to catch it and then direct it to something deliberately positive. So you're essentially taking that negative, turning it into a positive, and deliberately thinking and dwelling on those positive thoughts to counteract your negative default mode. And this is why it's so important to actually write things down, because you're reprogramming your brain. I've also heard a lot of people mention this week, Ricardo, about spelling is like casting spells. So when you use the power of your words, you use that writing, you're transforming your life from where you're at. And the power of our thoughts that's what most people, underestimate, is the power of our thoughts. So if those negative thoughts do come in, write them down and redirect them as soon as possible to something that's positive and deliberately positive. M.I.M.S, your take on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's important that everybody does this, because, we grow up and throughout life, since we were little, or in school, or the people who we hang around, or family members, it's human nature to point out people's differences. It's human. Oh, you're short, or you're tall, you're fat, or you're skinny, or you're smart, or you're dumb, or, especially kids. Kids in school, they got no filter. And some of this stuff might stick with people, and they don't realize that it's become part of their subconscious mind. In the back of their mind, it's helped fuel their limiting beliefs. And a lot of people are still dealing with family members or people at school, from high school, whatever have you. And it shows today. So this is why information and videos and skills and practices like this are so important, because you have to, unlearn and relearn, right? You have to be able to transmutate, the negative aspects of yourself that you have enforced and you believe in, and realize that it's really an illusion. It's what you've been telling yourself. It's what other people have been telling yourself. But if you never came across those people, those ideas would have never came into your mind. You would have realized your divinity. You would have realized your gifts. You would have realized your talents. You would realize how special you are. You would realize the blessing or the gift that you are to the world and the value that you have. If that's all you ever experienced, if that's all whoever was around you, that's all you would know. But it's
Yep.
because we have been in this environment, we are seeing this culture where they give you beauty standards. This culture where they tell you, what looks good and what doesn't. And then you look at yourself and you say, I don't look like this. And they give you these ideas and images of success. And you say, well, I don't have that. I can't speak that way. I don't. All these limiting beliefs that are really irrelevant to you being successful and being of value to yourself and others. And so, this is why, we talk about this stuff, on these Mindset Mondays, and we give some practical things that people can do. And with the real expectation that it's not something overnight, it's your job. I think you need to tell yourself, you need to tell your children, your loved ones, your main job is to protect and grow your mindset into in a way that will fulfill and enrich your life and eliminate any negative and doubtful beliefs that come into it, because they're not real. It's an illusion. Whatever you're telling yourself is the reality. And after you
Yep.
tell yourself enough, you'll start to do the physical actions to actually manifest that reality physically. If you start to say and believe, no, I am in shape, or I'm getting in shape, or if you start to, eventually you're going to start to think differently, eat differently, do differently, especially as you start to see results. So just continue on that path and, apply this information, apply these practices, and you'll start to see it, because it happens for any and everybody who actually applies these principles. And one of the first books that got me there was Think and Grow Rich, on Napoleon Hill. The mindset. That's the thing that separates everybody, is what are you telling
Yep.
yourself? What are you telling yourself on a day-to-day basis?
No, fire message there, Ricardo. So we hope, this has encouraged you guys to get your week started off right. We do have a special launch call, guys. There's so many opportunities right now. And when you're living in abundance mindset, I'm ready for the next one. I'm always ready for the next one. And when we heard that this company had not even been really introduced into America, we were excited about it. And this is something that everyone needs, because if we don't have our health, nothing else matters. So I'm excited to bring this to the community, and we might be reaching out to a few people to give them early access to this. But we will be doing our USA launch call for health and wealth passive income this Wednesday, November 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. As always, you can join our Zooms by just going to soundmoneysecrets.com. And I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to change lots of lives and help lots of people. So we'll be sending more information about that out in the runners channels, the Telegram groups, the Facebook groups, the apps, all of that stuff. But guys, we're just going to keep going on. And again, part of this 90-day run is Ricardo and I changing our mindset, right? Of saying we're going to be dedicated to going on at noon every single day, talking about mindset, talking about technology, about wealth, getting back to training you guys on Zoom, and then having Freedom Friday every Friday at noon. So stay plugged in, guys. There's lots of opportunities, lots of ways to make money, lots of ways to transform your life. And we want to see as many people reach that financial freedom as possible.
Yep. So we're on a 90-day run, folks. Smart finance. Okay. It's the time. It's the time to get in position, and make sure that a wealthy family comes from you if you didn't come from a wealthy family. So make sure y'all get inside the Runners app. We got all the videos there on smart finance. Okay. Being able to help you get your credit right, eliminate debt, tax services, legal services, phenomenal platform, phenomenal AI innovation, helping people really get a holistic approach to solidifying and making sure that they can maintain it and grow their wealth at the same time. So definitely get inside the Runners app and check out what we got with Smart Finance. Everybody should take advantage.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone who jumped on today. We'll see you guys tomorrow at noon. Everyone have an amazing week. We love you guys. Lace up. Let's get well.